So I'm going to start a Bears blog or whatever this is on YouTube. A little bit about me. My name is Jim Rutledge. I have been a sports talk radio host at different levels in the Madison, Wisconsin market for ESPN Madison for, 17 years, I think. And throughout that time, I've been a diehard Bears fan, unabashed Bears fan as a sports talk radio host in Madison, Wisconsin, much to the chagrin of plenty of people who do tune into the show, and I appreciate all the Packer fans who tune into the show. But you know what? I thought 2025, I'm going to have an outlet where I can just go all in on talking about the Chicago Bears and just pretend I host a radio show for a podcast for someone in Chicago. So this is what I'm going to try to do, and I will do my absolute best to make it entertaining. And instead of like breaking down the whole year and jumping in, going backwards, I'm just going to jump in where the Bears are at right now, and that's their game against the Green Bay Packers coming up on Sunday. And from this game, there's literally one thing that I care about. I don't care if Caleb Williams completes 0 passes, just be healthy. It's the only thing I care about for this game. As a Bears fan, I almost flinched just saying it out loud, but I'm going to say it out loud. The only thing that matters to me in this game is Caleb Williams looks healthy. Now, he has a chance to have right now he is having a better statistical season in the NFC North than Jordan Love. He has no interceptions thrown. Caleb does against the NFC North, a higher completion percentage, more yards. Now, Jordan Love's got the one win. Caleb was very close, fingertip away from winning their matchup, and he would be 1-0 against the NFC, or not 1-0. He'd be 1-0 against Green Bay Packers and 1-5 against the NFC North. But now he still has an opportunity to beat the Packers and be 1-5 against the NFC North, which would make Jordan Love also 1-5 against the NFC North. But I believe he has 5 interceptions against 8 touchdowns and like 60 or 61% completion percentage. So it'd be a nice little feather in the cap, even though the Packers are on their way to the playoffs, to say that Caleb had a better season against NFC North opponents than Jordan Love. But I can't say that unless he beats the Packers on Sunday. But that's not as important for me. I would love for him to continue to climb up. He has an opportunity, I think, to top one of Jay Cutler's years as far as the most passing yards in the season. And I know some of this is just counting stats, and some of these stats are a little bit empty calories. But at the same time, empty calories are tasty, and we all can just enjoy, especially this time of year in Wisconsin or Illinois, wherever you're watching. Like it's nasty out. Some empty calories just make you feel good. There's obviously a lot of work for Caleb Williams to be done, but I'm sorry, and I always had a little bit of a fear for Mitch. He looked scared out there, was kind of my whole thing with Mitch Trubisky. Justin Fields, it just didn't look natural for him. I never like to talk about processing or things like that because that's harder to nail down. For everything that I've heard, that Mitch and Justin were incredibly hard workers and incredibly loved by their teammates, and there was nothing to do with their failure that had anything to do with them not putting in the work. So I always hesitate to talk about not being quick enough or smart enough, because it's not fair, and I don't think it's accurate. I think it's just a matter of Justin never looked like a completely natural passer, and even playing quarterback, it didn't necessarily look fully natural to him. And I think the biggest flaw the Bears did is not bring in like a Greg Roman style offense and do what the Ravens did with Lamar, where Lamar has grown as a passer and now he is great at it. It still doesn't look fully natural and fluid out of his hands, but Justin could have had that ability. And Mitch Trubisky, honestly, a very similar type quarterback. I think that if the Bears had used his legs more and had put him on the run more and used more read option, I think he's a guy that obviously nobody is Lamar. He's one of one, and Justin as a runner was elite. But Mitch Trubisky had a lot of skill to be able to move with his feet, and I think he would have done better using his athletic traits and allowing him to have an offense that exploited what he did well. But the Bears didn't do that. They tried to run the Patrick Mahomes offense. So now the Bears have to figure out the right offense for Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is someone who has the ability to be elite at many levels, including as a passer, as a processor, as a leader, as a runner, as a pocket presence guy. All those things showed flashes this year, but they are not around enough to say that he will be all those things. But I think for young players, the most important part is how good do they look in their flashes. And Caleb Williams' flashes look the best that I've seen for a young player, because Cutler was a little bit older when he got with Chicago, the best I've seen for a young QB with the Bears in my lifetime. And the Bears are fully capable of ruining it. And there's a big coaching thing to come up here. So that's the other part that I'll talk about here. Caleb's development is fully a lot on him, but the Bears, and I do think he's one of those rare quarterbacks. Back to Justin and Mitch for a second here. I think those types of quarterbacks needed to sit. They could have sat for a few years and then had an offense that really focused on their athletic skills and their ability to be playmakers and ability to keep defenses on their toes because of their scrambling ability, along with their ability to make throws and make plays and recognize defenses. And if you allowed those players more time to study NFL teams, and they would have been better at it before they had to play, the Bears screwed that up. I think those are types of quarterbacks that the Bears did not help Mitch or Justin reach their ceiling. Now, with Caleb, he feels like, fingers crossed, one of those rare QBs, whether it's Stafford or Josh Allen, Andrew Luck. There are plenty of quarterbacks who did start right away, who ended up being successful in the long run. Jared Goff doesn't fall fully into this category because I don't think he's the type of quarterback where you don't have to lock him into a set system, and you don't have to baby them, that they are fully more along cooked, if you will. CJ Stroud, obviously, Jayden Daniels, guys who are a little bit further along. I don't think Caleb is easily ruined, and I think he still has plenty of ability to get to his ceiling. Guys like Mitch and Justin, and look, there's plenty. Jordan Love is an example. That if Jordan Love, I've maintained this, if Jordan Love had to play as a rookie, he'd be out of the league, or he'd be Mitch Trubisky at best right now. He didn't. He got to fully develop. He got to hit the ground running and be the quarterback that was in the same offense for multiple years and knows his offense backwards and forward, and that's such a big advantage for him. And I think Mitch and Justin would have benefited from sitting for a year or two. That would have been the ideal. I don't think Caleb needs that. I don't think every quarterback needs that. Yes, it would have been easier for him, but let's be optimistic. There are quarterbacks who sat who didn't need to sit. There are quarterbacks who played right away that still had very long careers, and their lives and their careers were not ruined. So to that, I don't care necessarily what offense comes in here for Caleb, because I think he's fully capable of running any offense. I just think offensive line, obviously a major thing that needs to be improved, because that'll help the running game, which then makes Caleb's life easier. If you look at Minnesota and you look at Detroit and Green Bay, the three teams in the division, they have a passing attack, but that passing attack is predicated on the run game, and that run game is predicated on offensive line. And then they obviously have head coaches who are really good, if not elite. The Bears have a quarterback. Their running game isn't working. I do like DeAndre Swift and Rashawn Johnson. They could add another back there, but their offensive line is horrendous. Love that Caleb defended them, but it's still a well below average offensive line. And then obviously the coaching staff. And I think Thomas Brown is still an up-and-coming coach in the NFL. I think he will be really good someday. I think it's one of those where too much was put on his plate too fast. He was put in a position to fail, which is common with the Chicago Bears. And I feel bad for Thomas Brown on that. But he was at the University of Wisconsin for a year as running back coach. The players I talked to around him said he is just charismatic. He is uplifting. I think he will be a great NFL head coach during his career. I don't think that'll be with the Bears this year. He's definitely earned an opportunity for interviews. So let's talk about the coaches. Thomas Brown, Joe Brady, really any coordinator that does not have head coaching experience, and I'm putting Thomas Brown in that because he only was an interim head coach, any coordinator that does not have head coaching experience, I'm not interested in unless it's Ben Johnson. And I'm not even 100% sure I want Ben Johnson, but Ben Johnson has done enough as a coordinator and seems to have really cared about being great and learning from Dan Campbell and being around greatness and really making sure he's ready for the opportunity, that he's really the only one that I trust as a coordinator to be a head coach without the experience. And I know obviously plenty of coaches do it and are successful, but otherwise I want a proven guy for the Chicago Bears. So my number one is Ben Johnson, but it's not a massive number one. And I'd love Ben Johnson to bring in like Josh McDaniel and Robert Saleh. And let's just bring in some other guys who have coached and they can have a well-experienced staff. Those are just names I've thrown out there. I don't have any real ties or any insight into who he'd bring in. Brian Flores is another name that's floated. I don't hate it, but he's lower on my list. I do think you can learn from your mistakes, and I think Brian Flores is someone that will be a good NFL head coach. It's just about, if we need to maximize Caleb, who is Brian Flores bringing in as his OC? Is it Josh McCown? But he's a quarterback's coach. I don't think he's fully ready to be an offensive coordinator yet. So, like, who is coming in? And obviously, main red flag is Flores did not mesh well with Tua. And again, Flores, I think, can grow from that. I think Flores will be a good NFL head coach. I just don't know if Chicago's the right fit, mainly because the quarterback is so important and they can't screw this up. Another one would be Mike Vrabel. I feel more comfortable with Vrabel because He was a head coach longer, and look, he hired Arthur Smith and Matt LaFleur as his offensive coordinator. So he's clearly someone that has had success twice in hiring offensive coordinators despite being a defensive-minded coach. I think he would fit what I hear a lot of the players want, which is accountability and to be held responsible and to be able to be someone that can help them grow through discipline. And I think Vrabel checks all those boxes. I think he can kind of right the ship in Chicago and get things more professional, not have these hand off to a guard and fumbles it or pitchbacks to DeAndre Swift, whatever, all the embarrassing crap that happened this year, let alone the clock management. Like, those things would be done with him. Pete Carroll will be on that list as well. The other wild card, so I'm going to give you my list. Right now, number 1 is Ben Johnson. My number 2 would be Mike McCarthy, because Mike McCarthy is a guy who has an unquestioned track record of developing quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers gives him credit for it. Dak Prescott got better with Mike McCarthy. So Mike McCarthy has head coaching experience. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl 15 years ago or whatever, but still, he's a head coach. He's won multiple games in the NFL, and multiple double-digit seasons in the NFL. The Bears can't string together 6 or 7 wins. So if we have the issue of 10 wins and then we lose in the first round, great. I'll take that problem. So I'm going number 1, Ben Johnson. Number 2, Mike McCarthy. He is technically a free agent, so he could hold out and see if the Bears were interested. Then I'm going to go with, this one is tougher. I think I'm going to go with Vrabel, then Pete Carroll, then Brian Flores. Kingsbury, I guess 6, but I just don't trust that as a head coach. But that's kind of my list as head coaching options for the Chicago Bears. I'm very intrigued on this offseason. I do think they have the money to spend to fix the offensive line, and I think the first round in the NFL draft, they can use that on defensive linemen. They need help there. In the second round, because it seems like a little bit of a deeper draft in the offensive line, they have 2 second-round picks. Use them both on offensive line, sign a free agent, and revamp that offensive line. Even if that means moving Braxton Jones to a backup, Darnell Wright's the only guy that should be back as a starter. So that's my thought on Chicago Bears as we head into the Bear-Packer game. I'll try to post one of these once a week to talk about the Chicago Bears. Maybe during the off season, I'll talk about the Cubs or something like that. But honestly, if I'm going to post this weekly, it'll probably be every week about the Chicago Bears. So thanks for watching, and comment below.